Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the best cards in NBA 2K23 MyTEAM here on this tier list. But before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 9,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, and I would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. So, we got about somewhere around 40 cards on this tier list. There are probably a few guys that y'all think are top cards that aren't on this list. So, if that is the case, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know what you think about those cards, or try to basically ask for my opinion, because I can give y'all my opinion, but don't want to waste much time. 40 cards is a pretty good amount considering I only do 20-ish or a little over 20 for most of my positional tier list, so gonna try to get through these relatively quickly and make this video as quick as possible. So first card for the video is going to be Harrison Barnes. Hoff clamps, Hoff limitless takeoff, Hoff posterizer, really good release, moves pretty solidly. He's a very good option at the small forward position. Definitely think he's a super solid card for sure. Iggy has a decent release. He has the MJ dribble style, a good size, of elite defense, and a very good player build too. So I think he's a very, very solid option at the 2, and I think he's a B tier guy as well. AD, not quite a top 2 or 3 power forward in my opinion anymore, but I think he's close. I think he's up there toward the top. Definitely an amazing card and still an A tier type of guy with elite defense. Mediocre release, I will say that. I wish his release was a little better, but I still think he's one of the top 4 or 5 power forwards in the game at very worst. So probably an A tier guy as well. Bam Adebayo, solid, not great release, doesn't move well. A little undersized, but a very good defender. Very solid option at the power forward position. Just not next level amazing at this point. So compared to the best cards in the game at the position, I think he's a C tier guy. Bob Nedelik, he's going to be on my first S tier of the video. Really think Bob is really, really good. Great release. Elite defender as well. Moves well for a power forward with good playmaking and front clutches. So he's got really good dunk animations as well. I think he's an amazing card and definitely an S tier guy. Carmelo, on the other hand, I actually think he's D tier. He doesn't play enough defense for me. It's my personal opinion. He's got a very good release, but he gets a lot of load ups as well, which is super annoying. Good offensive card, but defensively he struggles. And honestly, offensively, I don't think he's like next level elite compared to a couple of the top small forwards in the game. So definitely think he's a good card, just not next level great. Kazi Russell next. I'm going to go A tier for Kazi. I think Kazi is very good offensively, especially, and he can compete defensively. He's got gold anchor. I think he's a very good card. Just don't think he's quite good enough to be in the S tier, but I do think he's really, really good. Good release, good sigs. Just tiny bit undersized. 6'5" is probably the main reason that he's only in the A tier instead of S tier, but really good card for sure. D-Rob, I think, is the second best center in the game, so I do think he deserves that S tier spot as well. Very, very good card for sure. I really like D-Rob a lot in this game, and I think he deserves to be in the S tier, to be completely honest, because of how good his release is. In fact, he's got good size, he's a good interior defender, quick for the center position. Very, very good card for sure. And another guy who's going to go S tier for me is Dolph Schayes. I think Dolph is a top 2 or 3 power forward in my team. I actually have him as the 3rd best power forward in the game, and I'm realizing I forgot a person on this tier list. I didn't add Joe Smith on this tier list, so I'm just going to say this right now for those of y'all listening, and I'm sure they'll probably get a comment about this as well. But Joe Smith, I would have an S tier. I'll just throw that out there. I would have him in S tier over Dolph, so I'm going to put Dolph at the top A. Really good release, a tiny bit undersized though, at only 6'8", but very, very good card for sure. I would have Joe Smith over him though, and I would have Joe Smith in the S tier. Now, I'm going to put Donald in B tier. For a short PG, he is incredible, but he's still a short PG, so that does limit his effectiveness a bit, and he doesn't have anchor. But what he does have is a pretty good player build, amazing sigs, and an amazing release, as well as really good dunk animations. Really, really good card. He's significantly better than a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who, as much as Evan loves Donovan Mitchell, is just not that great, to be honest. Release is fine, but it's not next level amazing. His sigs also pretty good, but not insane. He does have anchor, which is good, but he's only 6'1". He's got a small player build. I know he's got a long wingspan, but still, he's very limited in a lot of ways, to be completely honest, and I do think he is a D tier guy. Giannis as well. I'm only going B tier for Giannis. I'm one of the best cards in the game. I don't think he's quite good enough to be at the top 2 tiers because of his mediocre release, and his release certainly is pretty mediocre, which does hurt the card, to be honest. But outside of the release, he's very good. He can play small forward as well, which is elite size, which that's super valuable, but he needs a better release base, in all honesty, for Giannis to be a top tier card, because release, I think, is super important, and Giannis's release just doesn't quite cut it at this point. Excuse me. Hakeem is going to go C tier for me. He's 7 foot with Hoff anchor, decent-ish release, can shoot the ball, but not crazy fast, not a crazy next level elite defender, not a crazy shooter with an elite release. He's just solid at this point, but I think, honestly, outside of the top 2 or 3 centers in the game, we just don't have that much center depth at the position. He's fine, but he's just not incredible, and I think he's probably a C tier type of guy. John Morant's going to go I'm going to put Ja in C, I think. Ja is good, to be completely honest. I'm actually going to pull him up on 2KDB because I haven't used Ja myself, but I know how glitchy he is as a slasher. He and Russell Westbrook seem to get more dunk animations than anybody, and he's got a decent wingspan with good size, gold limitless range. He's got gold anchor as well. He's got better size than a guy like Donovan Mitchell. Pretty good defensive stats. Really incredible slasher and super fast. I don't love his SIGs. I do think he's probably good enough to go C tier, though. If I have Donald in B, I'm going to go Ja in C. I think that's fair for Ja Morant to go in the C tier. Jason Tatum's going to go A tier for me. With this Evo, he gets MJ dribble style and his release timing on quick, and is really, really good. So definitely recommend getting Jason Tatum Evo'd if you have the card. I think he's very, very good, though, and I think he is an A-tier guy once he's Evo'd at the small forward position because of how good his release is and the fact that he can move better as well. Jimmy's going to go D-tier for me, to be honest. It's just the release of Jimmy that holds him back at this point. It's super mediocre. Would love to see a trophy case card update, to be completely honest, that updates all like the rewards, the division rewards and the conference rewards and Larry Bird to get better SIGs and faster releases and stuff, just to improve them as cards a little bit, help their animations out. And if you could help their animations out, that would really, really help with some of these cards, because Jimmy has the potential to still be one of the better shooting guards in the game if he had a better release. That's the key with Jimmy Butler. Now, one of the best, if not the best, well, it's probably still the best shooting guard in the game is still Julius Erving, despite the fact that his release is also on normal and he still has like the SIGs and stuff that he came out with as a base card, but he's still so good. If they put Dr. J's release on quick and maybe changed a couple of his SIGs and he made them even better, he would be absolutely incredible for months to come. Like, he is still so good, still the best card at his position, in my opinion, and I think he definitely is an S tier guy still in my team. Kawhi Leonard. I'll be completely honest, I haven't used Kawhi at all, so I don't know exactly how great he is. I know they gave him his release on quick and they gave him MJ dribble style, which does help him out. I think he still has like a 60 block, though, which is really annoying. Block rating is kind of important for interior defense and stuff this year, and Kawhi having a 60 block is definitely not a positive. But half anchor, half challenger, half clearance, half glove, half interceptor, etc., half limitless, half quick first step, half posterizer, half bully. He is still really, really good statistically at badge rights. If he had a higher block rating, he'd be one of the best small forwards in the game, and I still think he is one of the better ones. I think he still deserves an A-tier spot even with that low block rating because he is a very good card. No doubt about that in my team. Kobe, pretty good release, average SIGs, very good slasher. Pretty good defender as well. He's a very solid card at the shooting guard position. Probably B tier, to be completely honest. I'd say he's on the same level as Andre Iguodala. I think that's fair to say. Kobe's a very good card, and I think he deserves to be in the B tier as well. Gonna put KP right next to Hakeem in the C tier. He's missing a lot of defensive badges, and he is kind of slow with only a 74 speed, but at 7'3" with 74 speed, that's honestly not bad. So he's still a very good card. I just don't think I can have him higher, in all honesty, than the C tier still. I think he and Hakeem need to be on the same level. I'm also realizing I don't think I put Kareem on this tier list either. I'm missing a couple cards. Kareem would also go, would probably go A or B tier for me personally. I'll just throw that one out there as well. He and Joe Smith are the two cards that I know I'm missing off this tier list, so I apologize for missing those guys. I think they would both go in the, well, Joe would go S tier and Kareem would go A or B. I haven't decided between those two. Lamar Odom. I haven't used Lamar Odom either. I don't know exactly how good he is. If his release is the same that the Diamond was, it's just not that great. I will say that. At least on next gen. It's Ousmane Dieng base. Okay, never mind. It's a different base. I don't know how this release is, to be completely honest. I haven't used this card. But he's got good shooting badges. He's got good defensive stats. No clamps, interceptor, or anchor is annoying. Those are like three of the most important defensive badges in the game, and you can't get any of them on any tier, which is annoying. But the playmaking badges are very good. I have no idea how this release is. I'll be completely honest. I don't know. And that's kind of one of the defining things. If it's a good release, he might go up to B tier. Based on what he is right now, I think I'm going to put him in C simply because of the key defensive badges that he's missing. So for me, still got to put Odom in the C tier. Honestly, I think Donald is better than LaMelo Ball. I think LaMelo and Ja are probably on very similar levels. I know LaMelo is 6'7", but he's missing a lot of key badges. So for me, I still can't put him higher than C tier. Does have a great release and solid SIGs, but missing a lot of key badges, which holds LaMelo back and prevents him from being higher than C. Now, I'm putting Larry in D because I don't like the release and he doesn't move well. The best part about Larry Bird right now is the fact that he plays defense, and that is sad. Larry Bird should be one of the best cards in the game because of how hard of his grind is. He should have his release on quick. He should have better SIGs, and if he had those two things, he'd be a much, much better card. But for now, with a mediocre release, release and bad SIGs. And I mean, the Hoff badges are great, but they can only do so much. Larry Bird is really, really mediocre, and he really shouldn't be, which is kind of a shame in my team. Larry Nance, I do believe, is actually an A-tier small forward, power forward option. I really like this card a lot. Number one, he's got great size at 6'10". Number two, he's got a good release. He can also get a lot of key shooting badges, including limitless range, as well as catch and shoot, slippery off ball if you want to add that to him. Has pretty good playmaking badges, great defensive badges, and a good release as well as Hoff limitless takeoff and posterizer. So a lot to like about this card. Normal leaner as well. He can get a lot of key badges. Being able to get limitless range is one of those things that kind of elevates him a little bit, and I think he's definitely an A-tier guy. I might even take him over the other two small forwards in A-tier right now, and I think Larry Nance is a really, really good card and deserves an A-tier spot. We have a lot of A-tier small forwards, I'll be completely honest, but I think LeBron is also an A-tier small forward. I really do. I think he's very, very good. Really solid release, great slasher, great defender, great player build, and moves pretty well in the half court or in the full court as well. LeBron, I just think he's A-tier. I'm looking forward to open LeBron because every card LeBron's gotten this year has been really good. So I think we're going to be getting another LeBron card soon that'll probably have his release on quick. It'll probably be even better. And LeBron is definitely an amazing card in my team. Lonzo Ball. I have a lot of A-tier guys, but I think Lonzo's got to be A-tier as no, he doesn't. He's B tier. I think he's the third best point guard currently in my team, but I just don't think the point guard position is incredibly deep, to be completely honest. Every point guard has a flaw in some capacity, which a lot of other positions have top guards who are pretty much flawless at this point, in terms of most areas anyway. And Lonzo his release is mediocre and he doesn't move that well. He's a good defensive PG and he's got good size, but he's still limited offensively in a lot of ways, and that does hold him back. So I gotta go B tier for Lonzo, even though I think he's the third best PG in the game. Another B tier guy is gonna be Luol Deng. I think he's a slightly better version of Iggy and Kobe. Has pretty good movement, has great size at 6'9" at shooting guard, a decent release, and very, very good defensive ability. One of the best locks in the game. I think he's definitely a B tier guy. I think he's a very, very solid card. Magic's going S tier because of his height and his behind the back mainly, and as well as the defensive versatility he gives you by being 6'9" with good defensive stats. Magic is a top tier card in the game, though the best point guard in the game, in my opinion, by a pretty significant margin, and a very easy S tier. Obvious S tier, the most obvious S tier on the list, the best card in the game is Yao Ming. He's 7'6" with a good release and fast. Why do we have a 7'6" player who has 80 speed and can shoot a 3 with a good release at this point in the year? I don't know, but we do, and that's all I got to say about Yao Ming. He is an easy S tier for me. Penny's going to go A tier. I think he's the second best point guard in my team right now. Decent release. He's got normal fade. He moves pretty well. He's a good defender. He's versatile. He's pretty just all around good at the point guard position. I think he's very, very solid, and I think he's an A tier guy. I think he definitely deserves it. Serge Ibaka, same level as a guy like Giannis. I think B tier is fair again for this type of guy because I think he's on the same level as a guy like Giannis. I think it's totally fair to say that. He's got a better release than Giannis. He doesn't have the movement of Giannis, but he's got very similar player abilities. He's got Hoff limitless takeoff and posterizer, as well as Hoff interior badges. He is a really, really good card with good athletic ability at the power forward or center position. He's got great versatility as well, can play both at a high level, and I think he's really, really good and definitely a B tier type of guy. SGA, again, I'm going to put him in B tier. I think he goes right next to Luol Deng, Lonzo and Donald at the point guard position. I think that's the level that he's on. He's got better size than Old, not quite as good playmaking, but he's a better playmaker with a much better release than a guy like Lonzo, even though he doesn't quite give you the defense that Lonzo gives you. So he's kind of the in-between between the short PGs and the tall PGs who are more defensive but can't create their shot as much. SGA kind of is that in-between who can kind of do both at a pretty good level, and I think he's a very good card at the point guard position, especially for how cheap he is. Shaq's going to go D tier for me simply because he can't shoot the ball. That matters a lot. It's a big issue, and he doesn't have the ability to shoot, and that is the only reason he goes D tier, but it matters. Sean Kemp's going to go right next to Bam. I think he's just a slightly better version of Bam, probably a slightly better release. Not quite as good of a defender, but a better athlete as well, and a slightly better player build, a little bit taller, so I think he's a C tier guy. Steph's going D tier for me. Again, small, not a great slasher. Those two things matter a lot. If I got Donovan Mitchell in the D tier, I'm going Steph in the D tier as well. Steph is actually worse than Donovan Mitchell, so I will throw him down there as well. Terry Dishiger is going to go S tier for me. I think he's the second best shooting guard in the game. Really, really good release, great size, great player build, very good defender, and moves super well. No anchor handles for days, which are two pretty crucial badges that he is missing, but outside of that, he is incredible and one of the best cards in my team. I'm actually going to go Tim Duncan in the... Yeah, we're going to go Tim Duncan in the A tier, to be completely honest. I think he's lost his S tier status just a tiny bit. Remember, I would also have Joe Smith in S tier, so that's an extra guy in S tier that I don't have on this list because I messed up. But Tim Duncan, really good defender, solid release, good size, versatility at the 1 or at the 4 or the 5. But the mediocre release, it's not great anymore, and that holds him back just a little bit. I feel like he could use a little bit better release. That would help elevate his game a bit. And we've gotten some better bigs as of late, guys like Yao, D-Rob, Bob, Dolph, Joe Smith, etc. for the 4 and the 5, and that holds back Tim Duncan just a little bit, having more competition. So for now, I think he's finally not an S tier player anymore. Gonna go Tim Thomas in S tier as well. He's still the best small forward in the game. Really, really good card. Obviously, y'all know how good Tim Thomas is. I don't need to waste time talking about it, but one of the most complete cards in the game with incredible SIGs and amazing size, as well as great dunk animations. He does it all, and he's an S tier guy for sure. Putting Trey in the D tier, he's the worst card on the list. I literally only included Trey because I wanted to complain about the card again. The worst level 40 of all time. There are literal Ruby and Amethyst cards that are better than him at the point guard position, and probably multiple of them. He is absolutely terrible. Why is this card a thing? I'm absolutely embarrassed that 2K made Trae Young the level 40. It didn't give him the ability to dunk or anything like that. And he's undersized. He's just terrible. What a waste of a card, to be completely honest. Worst level 40 of all time. Hope we never see anything like that again. Zach LaVine's going to go B tier for me. I think he's probably somewhere in here, like the 2nd or 3rd. I'd say Luol Deng is the best shooting guard that I have in B tier, but I think he slots in somewhere around this Kobe, Iggy, Zach LaVine tier. I think that's a pretty fair tier, to be honest. He moves pretty well. He's got a pretty good release. He's a very, very good slasher, and he's a capable defender who can get every badge. He's not the best card in the game by any means, but I think he's a very solid card, and at least he's a level 40 who's not completely awful when you first get him, so that is nice, and he goes B tier as well. Then finally, I'm going to have Zion in the S tier. Zion has great SIGs, a very good release. Does seem to get tired quickly, which is annoying, but he's also a very good defender and one of the best slashers in the game with one of those player builds that just shoves people out of the way. Triggers a ton of standing dunks, gets really good rebounds for a guy who's only 6'7". He's another S tier guy, and I do think he deserves a spot in the top tier of this list. So with that being said, that is going to do it for this tier list. Let me know what you think of my tier list down in the comment section down below. Remember, again, I forgot Joe Smith, I forgot Kareem. I'd have Joe Smith S tier. Kareem would be A or B. I'm not entirely sure. Probably end of A. But if there are any other players that I forgot off this list that you'd like to hear my thoughts on, where they would rank among the best cards in the game, feel free to leave a comment and let me know about that. And if y'all did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.